All right, let's do a diagonal repeat pattern in Procreate. It was a little tricky for me to figure out, but I did, and I want to show you how I do it. There's probably other ways to do it. And here's one way you can just do a fun palette with it, and then you can also have fun doing some plaid type of looks with it. So let's get started. I'm going to tap the plus sign and the plus sign again. And I do 12 inches at 300 dpi, which is 3600 pixels. So either way you want to do it, it doesn't matter, 300 dpi. And I also use this color profile. I don't use display P3. And tap create. Display P3 is for viewing on Apple devices. It's much more saturated and bright than other devices. So I just kind of avoid that. I like to add a couple layers. I probably won't need them all, but I just do that. And I need to know where my middle points are. So I go to the wrench tool, drawing guide, edit drawing guide, and max the grid size all the way up till it says max. You can change the thickness and opacity and the color to whatever you want and tap done. This point and this point is all we need to worry about. We're going to make diagonal lines through that area. Now I go to the monoline brush in Procreate in the calligraphy section, and I go into it and I bump up the brush size here in properties. I also like to turn the taper off. I'm not sure why it even has a taper, and tap done. In Procreate, you can draw a line and let it snap, right? And then if you put your finger down, it snaps into perfect 15-degree increments. And so 45 degrees is one of those increments, but it didn't used to snap perfectly, and I don't trust it. So if you want to do yours with the snapping, you can give it a try. You're going to want to really double check that you have a true seamless pattern. So keep watching the video and I'll show you how to check that. And you're going to want to fill just that space from there to there. And any gap that you have, so if you have a line here and a line here, any gap that you have here and here, they're going to join together to make one bigger gap. So you don't want that to be too massive or too tiny either. So think about that as you're drawing your lines. I'm going to make mine with the drawing assist turned on. I'm just going to make them up and down, and then I'm going to rotate them, and that's super accurate. I'm going to turn on the drawing assist. So tap on it and tap drawing assist. And now it's going to let me make perfect layers here. And I'm on my 2024 Summer Boho palette. This is a freebie for my newsletter subscribers. You can go grab that if you want. This is the background color right here, or it's intended to be. So I'm going to tap on the background and turn the background down to that, a little bit creamy color. And then I'm just going to have fun making some lines. Now this is my distance that I want right here. This is how many lines I need to fill, how much space I have to fill. If I rotate my hand this way, it's a pretty good chunk of the canvas. And I'm going to go ahead and do it in the center. All right. So if I just start making lines, I kind of go up and down. I really need to make sure that the line is perfectly the same down here as it is up there, because they're going to repeat. I'm going to maybe make a couple sizes here. I'm going to make a smaller one than that. You can tap and tap the plus sign and lock in a size that you want to keep returning to. And just have fun getting some colors down. This is kind of a big gap. If you have a big gap and you just want to shift some stuff over, you can go to the wrench or the ribbon tool and go to rectangle, and then select, I know you can't see the bottom of my canvas down here, so I'm kind of come way down here. Whoops. Yeah, select the whole thing. I'm going to squeeze my canvas up there a little bit more. Select these ones that I want to move over a bit, and then tap the arrow and make sure that magnetics is on but snapping is off. I don't want it to snap over to that line, but magnetics allows me to make sure that I'm sliding it perfectly horizontally. So you're going to see a blue line as I start to go. And if that blue line stays horizontal, then I know that I haven't shifted it up or down, and I can let go. And then deselect so I don't accidentally nudge. When you have something selected and you tap on the screen, it nudges. All right. And I think I might want to add one more bright yellow, a little bit bolder here. Let's see. I'm going to test this now, and I'll show you what I mean by testing. So I'm going to duplicate it and turn this one off and just use this one as my test. So I told you I needed to have about that many lines. I probably went over. So let's test it. I'm going to select it and rotate it one. And I'm looking and I'm seeing I went way over. So this line goes way over and that line goes way over. So I can delete that because I have my original and make a decision about what I want to do. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and select this far one over here and slide it right off the canvas and get rid of it. And we'll test it again. Duplicate, turn that original off, take the duplicate and rotate. That looks good. So here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at making sure I have space between that line and that point where the vertical line hits the edge, and that line and that point. And I know that those gaps are going to merge together into one gap. And so that gap isn't going to be super big or super small. It's probably going to be about similar to this gap. So that'll kind of fit my pattern, and that's good. So you can move this around a little bit if you need to. Because this is a monoline brush, I could probably even freeform and pull this side out a little bit too. Don't do too much like that though. And that's my starting piece. That's a perfect 45-degree angle, and I'm just gonna turn off drawing assist. I don't need drawing assist on anymore. And I'm gonna duplicate that so I have 4 more to squeeze into the 4 corners. I like to duplicate the original. I normally, with my repeat patterns, I put corner marks on, but that's just to make sure that I have ink to all 4 sides. But with this design, I have ink here, here, there, and there. So I have ink to all 4 sides. I'm going to do this in a way that's going to cause me some problems that I can show you what to do if you get to that point too. So the first thing I'm going to do is select one of my layers, tap the arrow, turn magnetics off. We don't need magnetics on when we're doing repeat patterns, this moving part. I do need snapping on, and I always keep distance at max, and then it's like big chunky movements because I just need it to snap to the middle. So I can grab outside the box. I don't want to shrink the box, so I'm not going anywhere near that blue node. And you can see I have gold lines in both directions, so that's perfect. Deselect so I don't accidentally nudge. Select another one and move that one down to that corner. Gold lines in both directions. Deselect. Here's where I got myself into trouble, and I only know this from experience. All of these lines are going to cause snapping to be fussy. So I'm tapping another one, and I'm going to try to go down here, and it's really not happy with me. It's not easily snapping. And in Procreate, if things aren't easily snapping like this, then take a step back. I'm going to deselect. You don't need it to be that way. It should be easy. So those 2 corner ones are causing me a problem, so I'm going to turn them off. And now let's try this again. There we go. Perfect snapping, gold lines in both directions. Grab the other one and slide it up to the top corner, and now we can turn those other ones on. I'm going to turn my lines off and take a close look everywhere, making sure there's no weirdness where these types of places are, right? So you can zoom in and you can make sure that you don't have any weird, like one line looks wider than the other and stuff like that. That would be bad. This looks good. So I'm going to merge all of those layers. That's one now, and we need to check it. We still need to make sure this whole thing repeats perfectly. If you did the step where you were doing snapped lines, this is the part you really, really need to check. So once you have this part done, you duplicate this so that you have 5. I turn this one off, this kind of original, right? Just turned it off. And then tap on one of the other ones and swipe right on all 4 of them. So they're all selected, tap the arrow, and this time we are grabbing the blue node and we're shrinking to the center. Freeform is on, so it's letting me do all that, but it doesn't matter. It should snap right to the center really easily. You're gonna know if you have a problem right away. This should have exactly half of what your full canvas size is, which was 3,600 pixels. This says 1,800 by 1,800. If one of those keeps toggling by 1 pixel, like 1799, 1801, then you're probably needing to go back several steps and try again because it's not perfect. All right, so let me make sure that's perfect. There we go, and deselect. And one at a time, move them to the 4 corners. One layer at a time. Doesn't matter which order you do it in. And now I need to toggle things on and off as I zoom way in. If you have a problem with your seamless repeat, this is where you're going to see it. So I'm toggling and I'm looking at all of those seams and they look great. There's no offsets, there's no gaps. So I'm going to merge those because this works as a pattern too. This is your seamless repeat, but it's 2 by 2, so it's kind of a shrunken size. And this is the one we just tested, which worked, which means this is also a perfect seamless repeat. It's the 1 by 1 version of it. It's the big version of it, the original. And you can play with either one. They both work. Congratulations, you made a diagonal repeat pattern. But here's another thing you can do with it that's really fun. I am going to use this original one and duplicate it and turn one off. I always just like to keep an original aside. And I'm going to turn the opacity down on this one. So let's just go around 70, 75, and then I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to take one of those duplicates, select, and rotate 2 times, and deselect. So that's really fun, but you can also play with the blend modes. So tap the N and start having fun with blend modes. I like multiply when I'm doing color on color. Because my background is not white, I'm going to change the blend mode on this lower one too, because it does get affected by the background color. And there we go. Now, if you had a dark background, multiply isn't going to work. See that? So if your work just disappeared because you have a dark background, that's why. Don't do multiply. Play around with other blend modes. And if you really love this version, you don't necessarily need to merge those layers. You can just 3-finger swipe down, copy all, turn those off, and come up here, 3-finger swipe down and paste. And you have it all on one layer, just like it is. This is especially good when you have certain blend modes that don't merge very well anyways. So this is just preserving the look that you want. And that is, you can save it as an image and upload it to print on demand, Spoonflower. You can also use this to make pattern brushes, and I have other lessons here on YouTube about making pattern brushes as well. The way that I make patterns, the background is completely separate, so you have all this flexibility to have fun with all sorts of options for the background. Make sure that you add your logo, not when you're uploading. You don't want a logo on there when you're uploading, but definitely before you post online or on a website. Make sure everybody knows it's yours. I'm going to do a dark color now. Beautiful. I have another lesson here on YouTube about making this stamp as well as a watermark stamp. Here's what the watermark stamp looks like. You can turn the opacity down. And these are fun because you can squeeze them in to your art and hide them. So Find that on YouTube as well. And I hope you have fun.